one of the biggest questions I do get is, what version of the game is this and how do you play? Hey, what is up guys, just Rick here, and as you guys can see, we're going to be running a solo mission. It's been a while since I've done this. Usually I play this game strictly with Martin, but it has become a little bit easier to play solo now since they kind of changed the game. There's been a huge update to the game. I wouldn't say huge, but they changed a lot of different things. Basically, if you played this game before, it's an entirely new game, basically. But I'm just going to try to talk about some things that we've been doing with Kingdom Under Fire, the changes and stuff like that. So as you guys can see, I am decimating things hard, and that's probably, most of that is due to the changes that they made. Basically, before, I think I've mentioned before that my damage was actually really high on the Gunslinger, and in comparison to Martin, I was maybe like 3 times stronger than him. They've since nerfed my class, the Gunslinger, and made it more comparable to the other classes, which I'm okay with. And in turn doing that, I don't do nearly as much damage. I can't kill mobs as easily, which I'm fine with, again, like I mentioned, because they've also, in turn, buffed up the troops, which I felt was a big problem, at least early on in the game, where the troops just felt like they weren't that useful. Now you can see how powerful they are. I mean, I literally did nothing and my whole troops just destroyed them. Now, I'm going to discuss real quick what I have right now. I think I've pretty much found the best setup for a solo kind of play. Right now I'm rocking the Ogre right there. Is actually on my team right there. Rising Horn Lower Ogre. I have a group of musket men, which is one of my favorite troops, and they're kind of like the single target high damage dealing troop. Highest damage dealing troop in the game for single target. And then finally for my AoE I have some mortars. So I think this is probably one of the best setups for solo play if you're trying to play this game and you're just trying to do it efficiently. I highly suggest you check out all the troops. There are not too many in the game. Martin and I have basically we've done a lot of testing on our own to try and find out which ones are the best troops right now. This is one of my personal favorites. Martin uses a completely different setup, so just letting you guys know that there really is no correct way to play this game, considering there are a lot of troops. But there's a lot of benefits to having this. Mostly the mortars just shit on everybody. Musket men are great for single target damage, and that's what you're going to see in this video, which is a really good single solo dungeon. This is actually designed for one person to do, and it doesn't take very long. I believe 10 minutes or so, especially with the troops that I got right now. And I've done this so many times right now that I've pretty much figured out a way to complete this very efficiently. But anyway, guys, I know one of the biggest questions, I want to answer this right now. One of the biggest questions I do get is what version of the game is this, and how do you play? And it's starting to get to the point where it's a little annoying, where I kind of mentioned that, you know, I don't really want to answer questions about how to connect to games that are foreign games like that, mostly because if I explain it once, I don't really want to explain it again, but I know I'm going to have to explain it again for every single game I play. So if you don't know already how to connect to a game like this through VPN and stuff like that, this is a foreign game, like I mentioned. This is the C version of the game, so obviously not available for North America and Europe unless you play through VPN, which that is what we're doing right now. So I don't really want to go through and explain that every single time for every game I play, but that's the case with this one. That being said, I am going to be making a video on how to do that. So in the near future, I've been really busy lately. It's been like about a week since I uploaded my last video, so I apologize for that, but I don't know. I don't even have to make excuses right now. You guys aren't even, you guys have not been heckling me about it, so I appreciate that. But I will be making a guide on how to connect to this game, and I will include some download links because there's a great convenience with this game that although technically you do need a VPN to connect to these servers, there are bypasses around even that. So I will be giving you guys a link to some certain files that you can use to bypass the VPN. So hopefully that doesn't get patched, because using a VPN in foreign games obviously introduces a layer of lag, which I know if you're trying to enjoy the game, even if it's solo, you don't want to be dealing with that. So hopefully we can get more people in the game, and you guys can stop asking me what version of the game is this and how to play it. So we'll make that video probably upcoming this weekend or something. You guys can expect that. But let me just discuss some of the changes that happened with the actual game since the last video you guys saw, which I gotta admit, I'm a little bit, I don't know if I should say, like, disappointed. I'm not disappointed at all. Oh god, I really effed this up. I should not have moved my troops this close. Okay, well, we'll move them back now since we got higher ground. But I feel kind of disappointed because in the videos that I've made so far, I've made it clear that the game is really difficult, and it don't get me wrong, it's a difficult game. Problem is, they've made the game slightly easier ever since the patch that happened. I want to say last Saturday was the patch, and it changed a lot of the features of the game. Most importantly, it gave everybody like a damage boost, all the troops. On top of that, it's now easier to level up troops because you get more EXP after the dungeon. Not only do you get more, okay, I take that back. You get less EXP, but the EXP required to level up your troops is significantly less. So, in turn, that basically means it's very easy to level up your troops now. I've made so many max level troops that I can no longer contain them. Oh, I can't even look at it on this screen, but I've been deleting them because it's been unnecessary for me to keep them. So I've leveled up pretty much every troop you can in the game to as high as I possibly could, and got a feel around for which ones I feel are the top tier classes or top tier troops. Again, I don't really want to like disappoint anybody and say, oh, these troops are useless, don't get that, because I really want people to try and test the game out for themselves, especially if you're going to actually play it. I highly suggest you don't just listen to somebody else's word and just go with the best high tier troops. I really do think that you should enjoy the game with whatever troop you think are best. So, not to mention, it's going to be kind of hard for you to find a troop like this ogre right here, which is only dropped in dungeon. Can't actually get that guy, I don't think. Or you might be able to recruit him at a much later date, but like I said, you can get him in dungeon. But yeah, if you find a troop, like if you want some paladin troops, Martin runs a different kind of setup than I do. He runs the paladin troops with a mortar team or something like that. You can just try different combinations. I used to run 3 musket men just because it synergized well with Martin's setup. He had a lot of tanky guys. I brought all the range guys, did all this damage. Just a lot of things you can do. I highly suggest that if it's possible, try to play with a friend because it's a lot more fun that way. Although now, since the changes, since you can level up a lot more troops and fiddle around with that a lot more, get stronger troops as well, I think it's highly suggested that you play with a friend, but it's not necessary anymore, I don't think. You can probably even complete the hard dungeons that were previously, like if you look back in the video, I was having a lot of trouble in some dungeons. Previously, they may have been impossible. Ever since the change, though, maybe possible to do. So right now I haven't been showing much love actually to what's going on in the back here. What I'm basically doing, my ogre and I, and this NPC driven character, is are running into groups of enemies and picking up aggro. And in doing that, both my musketmen and mortarmen are blasting them non-stop. Turns out you can actually see on the left of my character has been popping up a little window that indicates how much damage each troop is doing. And in fact, I'm going to actually group all these guys up right here, shoot them with a mortar skill, and you can actually see how much damage they're doing. Now, your hero yourself does a lot of damage, but when that shit comes in, look at this. And if you look on the left of my screen right here where I'm circling, my mortarmen did 59,000 damage. And if you compare that to the type of damage that I do with all of my skills and such, my damage is nowhere near that high. So that's just a comparison to see, okay, how strong are my units doing? It doesn't necessarily have to be mortar. You can have the archers or whatever you want. Just keep that in mind when you go about selecting what troops you want to use. Now here is actually, I'm going to use a skill on my riflemen, and I'm going to try to target this boss. Now that's really the benefit of the riflemen, or excuse me, not the riflemen, the musketmen, is that they can target single target enemies. So I targeted that boss and it chunked that guy's HP all the way down. That is purely due to the musketmen shooting him with a direct shot like that. So one more strike from my mortars and this boss should be dead. And right there. And there you can actually see the difference. Actually, the musketmen do a lot of single target damage. They were the ones that were able to chuck down his HP that high. Mortarmen do a lot of AoE type damage. You can see they can wipe out all of these weak mobs who don't necessarily kill the bosses very quickly. So that's why I like having this setup where I have at least one musketman troop to kind of do a lot of AoE damage with it. Right here we got a scorpion, I think. Over here we're gonna actually buff up the musketmen, and the musketmen are actually gonna try to cast their skill. They're casting it right now. Look at him chunk the boss right now. That's the musketmen. That's entirely the musketmen. We're able to chunk down that scorpion from full HP to none. I did give him a damage boost before I had him cast that skill, but that's why I like having those units. In comparison, you might look at the mortarmen and say, holy shit, they do tons of damage. I think I can bring up a screenshot right now that I took that I was astounded at how much damage they did. They did like, I want to say 900,000 damage or something, or 600,000. My memory might be failing me right there, but it was amazing. So, but still, even so, when you're fighting against certain types of enemies like the big ones, mortars aren't necessarily the strongest ones. So, just gonna throw that out there. Actually, my musketmen are in melee right now. Gonna move them all the way down here. Right now I'm shooting a mortar strike on top of these guys. 200,000 right there from the mortarmen. So again, they specialize at this type of enemy, which we're going to actually move these guys. There's only a few troops left. And there's actually my mortarmen are getting attacked again. Actually, no, mortarmen. Over here. Here's what I like doing. I like whenever somebody is attacking one of my range units, I usually have them just run through me so that when the enemies chase them, I'm able to pick off the aggro off of them, which is obviously beneficial to you don't want your range units in melee range, I guess. So just gonna do a little cleanup job right there, and the mortars just shit on everybody, guys. So there's a quick rundown of how I'm doing solo dungeons for a little bit, and I did get a level, level 28 now. I believe level 30 is the max level right now. And guys, now more than ever, I suggest playing Kingdom Under Fire 2, the C version of this game. And like I said, I want to say this weekend or so, I may be able to make a video on how to get that done with links involved if you guys want to play. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Sorry for this quiet video. It's actually like 1 in the morning. And I will catch you guys later. Also, look at how fucking sexy my spell sword is. Just saying.